All right, welcome. I'm drinking my tea. My little garage studio is nice and toasty tonight. Well, it's not toasty, but it's nice. We're going to start in a butterfly pose. And so tonight is going to be a little bit of yin yoga, a little bit of movement in terms of opening up our hips, or attempting to, and then doing some strength work with goddess pose and holding a goddess pose and holding kind of a squat pose. So that's the outline of our 30-minute class tonight. So we're starting in butterfly, and butterfly is with our soles of our feet together. And the goal is to open up the insides of your thighs, but it may also open up a little bit in your lower back. There's a lot of possibilities for where you might feel this. The goal, not the goal, it's important for you not to force this. I remember when I was a kid, they used to tell us to push your knees down and bring your head to your toes. That's just how we get hurt. So we're going to inhale, lift up your torso, and on the exhale, just fall forward. And then inhale, come up, and exhale, come forward. And there is no pulling, there's no pushing, there's no forcing yourself into this pose at all. And every time you exhale, think about letting your knees fall open. Just letting them fall down, 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 yeah, down to the ground, down to your mat. And it's really easy to try. I just found myself pulling a little bit. And you don't want to. You just want to let yourself keep falling over, because I'm gradually just opening up. I don't know whether it's my lower back or my inner thigh muscles that are just starting to lengthen, to loosen. Maybe it's the mobility in my hips, but it's always that moment of when you are trying to force something that your muscles go, they don't move. And when you force them to try to move, they're not going to. It's kind of like life. When you try to force it, it doesn't go well. But when you let it happen, yeah, okay, I'll stop with that. Good, we are just moving. And I'm starting to feel like a little bit of, I don't know if it's tension that's building up in probably my abductor muscles as the inner thigh here. And that's what we're working on with the breathing, is just trying to let that happen. So we're going to come into a pose that's called cow face pose, and there's a lot of other names for it. And I dislike it. There's some poses in yoga I just honestly dislike. Frog. But I dislike them mostly because they're just a challenge for me. Like, we have many things that are difficult. And so what we're going to do is work on cow face. And when I show you cow face, there's nothing in cow face of the way it's supposed to look. All right. So imagine this. Your legs, your both butt cheeks are on the mat, and in this case, our left knee is going to be kind of on the ground with a bit of an angle. And then our right leg is going to be on top with knees together. Why it's called cow face, I haven't a clue, but it's also not a pose that I ever really enjoy, but it is incredibly effective. All right, so what we're going to do, and this is where it's a yin pose because we're going to just take our time, is that we are going to just gradually let this happen. So the inhale is simply going to be relaxing this. This is as far as I can get my foot. So the goal again is to have this knee on top of this knee right in front of me so that both butt cheeks are on the mat and that I can even bend forward. Clearly not the case. So when we inhale, we're going to try to relax it. And you can just kind of do this by leaning over to your left a little bit. And on the exhale, just gradually letting your legs relax. You can feel this in your, at least I can feel this in my right hip, all the way through both legs. And already it's starting to open up a little bit. I can bring my my left foot, doing this pretzel stuff kind of confuses us, a little bit closer in. And just focus on your breathing in through your nose, out through your nose. And then on the exhale, just move so that your body is just opening a little bit. Like I can feel this all the way through my hip bone, all the way out through my knee on my right side. My left side, it's on the inner thigh. Wherever yours is, could be totally different. And what's amazing about this cow face is that while it's not comfortable like frog and other poses, that really focus on opening up our hips. So on the exhale, I'm just kind of moving forward a little bit, and I am breathing into my right hip right now. So when I inhale, I'm breathing into it, and exhaling, I'm just coming up a little bit. So my goal tonight is that I can bring my right foot a little bit more to the left so that my knees come closer. So I'm just kind of leaning forward just a little bit. We'll just do one more breath. And then we're going to come into a very nice downward dog. All right, so now we're going to get untangled. Please take your time because it was awkward getting into that pose, and now we're going to come out. And we're going to rotate your leg all the way around and come into a downward dog. And just relax. So on our inhale, we'll come up on our tiptoes, and exhale, drop a heel down. And I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what I'm doing there. And on the exhale, on the other knee, other heel, up and down on the exhale. So it's constantly moving with the breath. Good. All right, now we're going to lift your right leg up in the three-legged dog and bring it forward into a low lunge. So we'll drop our left knee and keep this. So this is where the block may come in handy if you wish it, because we are going to do some lizard. This is a low lunge here, but we're going to come into a lizard pose. And this is where, if you have a book at home, if you have anything that you can use to a pillow, I don't know, big giant dictionary. But the goal here is to have both hands inside of your right foot. All right, so the inhale is bringing our hips back, and the exhale is bringing our hips forward. All right, so I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what we're doing. So we'll inhale back and exhale forward. I'm not pushing anything In fact, I'm being a little gentle, and I'm just coming to that end point where I exhale and I'm just like, I'm done. I'm not trying to push anything. We're going to do one little change to this pose. And I'm sure there's another name for this, but I'm not sure what it is. And then we're just going to keep, this is just continuing to work on our hip opening. All right, so now staying in that spot. And again, this is where the block may, or the book may come in handy. What we're going to do is bring your hips back so you can relax a little bit. Drop your right knee out a little bit, just a little bit, so that you're on the side of your foot. And now we're going to do now we're going to do the same thing. This is like awkward 60-year-old man stuff where none of this is going to look graceful. But good grief, is it work to open up the tightness in our hips, just like that cow face. My goodness. This is just like everywhere in our hips. And my hips, I don't know about how you're feeling, but it's feeling this in my inner right thigh and my left hip flexors. Good. We're just going to do one more breath here. Exhale. Good. Let's get our hands back down to the mat. And what we're going to do is, just as gracefully as you can, roll yourself sideways and then back into a seated position, because we're going to come into cow face again, but with our left leg now on top. So right leg is down. So now naturally what happens is that my left butt cheek comes off the mat, and eventually, you want to have it down. And for whatever reason, this side is easier. Well, until I get to a certain point. But again, the goal is to have your feet kind of at an angle, really from your calf muscles, your calf and shins at a side angle, and then your knees on top of each other. So my left knee would be on top of my right knee. And perhaps you can do this elegantly and gracefully. Holy crap, now I'm feeling this in my right quad. All right, so here we go. Inhale, and I'm just going to relax a little bit. Breathe into my belly, and exhale, and just try to let my left glute come down to the ground. So it's a lot of hip work tonight. And that's the whole point tonight, is just working on our hips. Okay, so I'm going to be able to adjust this right knee just a little bit. This would be interesting to be in a yin pose where we like hold this for several minutes, 4 or 5. Just be curious to see how things would move. So I'm starting just to come forward a little bit on my exhale. So what's good about doing this kind of opening work in yoga is, while we are working to, in a way, lengthen the muscle, it's not exactly what happens, but that's the visual we can use. We're also really building our capacity to move in our hips so that we have more opportunity to move in a much smoother way. We are essentially creating an internal oiling mechanism, which is, I don't know if that's going to work as a metaphor, but that's the idea. All right, now let's bring your left leg around, roll forward into our downward dog again, and we'll do the same kind of idea where we're going to inhale, bring our right heel down, exhale, bring our left heel down, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, left heel down, and then we'll inhale, bring our left leg up, and then we'll bring our left foot forward and drop your right knee. I'm going to grab my block again, and I'm going to come into my lizard pose. So again, the inhale is bringing my hips back, and the exhale is just coming forward. You don't need to move a lot. I mean, quite literally, I'm moving maybe an inch, maybe 2 in my hips, just a little bit back. The idea is just to relax the muscles and then sink into them. It's as if you're trying to simply reassure the muscle that it's okay to relax just a little bit more each time. And you're breathing while you're attempting the inhale and the exhale, are breathing into those places. Like if you can bring your breath into your hips, that can help you release. All right, so now we're going to drop our left knee out. Open your left foot. Oh, there we go. Whoa. Okay, we'll do one more breath here. All right, let's bring our leg around and put your block kind of at the front because you may need it again for this next round. And we'll come into a downward dog again, just for a moment. Try to exhale and sink your shoulders down a little bit. Good. Inhale, look to the top of the mat, and then exhale and walk your feet forward into a forward fold. And then we'll inhale into a half lift, exhale to a forward fold, and then all the way up, mountain pose. Bring your arms up overhead, and then bring your hands to your side. All right, so now we're going to come into the hip strengthening part that we'll do. So let's bring our feet, move my block. We're going to come into a pose. It's goddess pose, and your feet are going to be kind of wide and at a bit of an angle. All right, because we're going to be sinking down. So let's inhale our arms up. And then as we exhale, we're going to push out with our hands and sink down in our hips. So it's like we're doing a wide squat. It's like doing one of those leg things, but we're just pushing up against imaginary walls. And we're pushing back so that our glutes are the ones. It can feel like we're using our quads, but we're really trying to get our glutes firing. Inhale, come up a little bit. And exhale. Oh, this is like a challenge. Just keep trying to squeeze your glutes like you have gas in church or something, and then you just got to hold it, and you're just trying to hold it. Just keep squeezing. I know it's kind of sacrilegious. All right, now we're going to inhale, straighten our legs, come up, and sink down to a wide forward fold. Good. That was a lot of work. All right, so now we're going to be coming into a twist here. So leave your left hand on the ground. This is where the block may come in if you need it, depending on how far you're able to go. But for this twist, it's good to have a little bit of support. So I'm going to stay in this position so you can see what's going on. So we'll inhale, and then on the exhale, raise your right hand up. Try to keep it right so your palm is facing out. And then inhale, and then exhale. Keep trying to rotate your shoulder so that it's becomes, the goal of it is to twist your torso so that your right shoulder is over your left. And so there's a twist in your spine. There's a pull maybe in your left hamstrings. Do one more breath. And then rotate. Good. And inhale and come back. And then exhale, bring your left hand up in the air. And there may be a difference between the two. In terms of which side might be a little bit more open. And we'll do one more breath. And now we'll come to the finale of our work. And then we will come down onto the mat and do some spinal twists just to end things. All right, so here we go. This is the end part. We're going to come down into a wide squat or a yogi squat. And the goal is to have this is where your feet can come together depending on what you need, where your butt comes down to your heels and you're able to just sit here. Now, I'm not able to do this. So I am just going to come down as far as I can, but our goal is to hold this. As best we can. And the inhale is lifting up your hips a little bit, and the exhale is trying to sink a little bit farther. Your toes are kind of like dinosaur claws as you are trying to hold this. All right, one more breath. Exhale and sink. Bring your hands to the mat. Bring your foot back, bring your other foot back, and we're going to come into a seated position. Oh, all right, that was a lot of work. I'm going to get a sip of tea. All right. Now, we're going to come down, and I'm going to roll to the side, come onto our backs, and have your hands at about 45-degree angles. And what we'll do is lift up our feet so our knees are together, and we're going to roll over to our left. Ooh, and we just popped a spine, a vertebrae. Good. And so in this position, our goal is to bring our hand just where it is here, to bring so my knees are over to the left, and I'm trying to bring my right shoulder to the mat along with my knees. So right now I'm breathing in through my mouth because I'm having a hard time getting into my nose breathing, which is a sign that I'm going a little hard. So I'm going to come back, lift up my knees a little bit, breathe in through my nose, and let my knees fall on the exhale, while my shoulder, my right shoulder, the opposite direction, comes down. Couple more breaths. Good. Now we're going to lift up our knees and we're going to roll them over to the right side. And we're going to look over to the left. And I don't know if you heard that, but that was my another vertebrae popping. So it's the same process here that you are trying to let your knees guide you a little bit as you are trying to just give your lower spine some twists. And again, just keep moving your knees and or your shoulder, your left shoulder. Couple more breaths. Good. And now roll your knees back in and bring your knees into your armpits. You can wrap your arms around your knees. We're just going to kind of let our spine get a little bit of a kind of a massage, but we're really just trying to open up our lower back. And to finish, we'll grab our outside of our feet in happy baby pose. And in happy baby, the goal is just to bring your knees, bring your feet down so that your knees come down and that it opens up your hamstrings and maybe your glutes and maybe your lower back. But again, you're just working with your breath. So it's inhale and exhale and just relax your knees. Good. One more breath. All right, and let's roll up to a seated position. Cross your legs without getting into the cow face. And we'll see how much more easy this is maybe for you being here. Your back is pretty straight. Breathe into your belly. Bring our arms up overhead. Inhale, exhale, hands to heart center. We'll do that 2 more times. Bring your arms up and exhale and bring it down to heart center. And 1 more time, bring your hands up, hands together and to heart center. I'm grateful for the practice tonight. Namaste. All right, thank you. And we will see you.